Welcome to the Fall and Rise podcast.
We're joined with Kit, and Kit is soon to be attempting to break the world record for the first ever walk from the northernmost point of Europe to the easternmost point of Europe?
Southernmost.
Southernmost point of Europe. That's my bad. But yeah, so Kit, obviously that's incredible. Can you tell us a bit about the journey that's led you to where you're about to be on Monday?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for having me on. So, yeah, starting this journey on Monday, starting in Nordkapp, Norway, and going down to the island of Gavados in Greece. So it's about 8,500 kilometers, and I'm aiming to do it in a year, carrying everything I need with me and basically sleeping under the stars. And it's solo. So it's the first continuous solo trek of its kind. So I'm doing it solo, unsupported. But the main aim is to make a lot of noise for suicide prevention and support for those struggling with their mental health. So the challenge itself is called Stride Beyond Silence, and it's a trek to put mental health on the map. And yeah, as someone who has had mental illness since the age of 11, 12, so from a really young age, and I'm turning 30 this year. It's just been a massive thing in for my whole entire life. It started at the age of 12 with depression and insomnia and self-harm. I was put on antidepressants at the age of 13. I then had anorexia throughout my teenage years, became really, really, really unwell with that. And then I started to recover from anorexia, and quite quickly fell into addiction with drugs and alcohol. And although my addiction wasn't obvious at first, you're 17, you're 18, your mates as well are drinking, and you're not really thinking that there are consequences to your actions. And I was just known as a bit of a party girl. But in my early 20s, it just started to slowly start to spiral out of control. And I had a traumatic event when I was at university. And even though I didn't know it was addiction, I just started to just basically be destructive in all my behavior and started to cause a lot of harm to myself and started to be extremely unkind to my loved ones. I was just on basically destruction mode, and my addiction eventually led to me becoming homeless and suicidal. And yeah, I just basically, it just got worse and worse and worse. And yeah, my last year of active addiction was just horrendous. No one knew where I was in my family. I ran away from everything. And yeah, I ultimately just got to a rock bottom, and I was living in that last year of my life in this limbo. I didn't care if I lived, and I didn't care if I died. And that was a really dangerous place to be, because it meant that I didn't care about the consequences of my actions. I was doing anything, and I didn't think I'd live to see them. So yeah, but luckily in June of 2022, a friend of mine who was clean and sober, I reached out to her and she took me to a meeting. And I went to a meeting, and that was on June 2nd, 2022. And since then, I haven't touched a drink or a drug. And I've worked a program of recovery. And within the last 3 years, I've also been diagnosed with ADHD and bipolar disorder. And I started to very much, what I call it, when I got to the end of active addiction, I kind of had this rucksack. I call it like a rucksack. Like, everyone has this rucksack of life, right? And we don't see each other's rucksacks, but it's filled with stuff. It could be filled with, heartbreak, trauma, loss, grief, everything. And it kind of just piles up and up and up. And if you don't let it breathe, you don't unpack things, eventually it's just going to get so full it's going to squish you. And that's kind of what happened to me. It was like full of all this like trauma and lies and manipulation and things I did in active addiction that I never thought I was going to tell anyone. And I just didn't have like the capacity to even get honest. But recovery showed me that it's okay to say these things out loud, to be honest and to be vulnerable. And actually my biggest strength that I've learned in the last 3 years is vulnerability. That it's okay to say I need help, or it's okay to say I did this, but I'm okay now. And that sort of bled into this realization that maybe if I'm honest as well, outwardly through social media, could this help other people? And so, yeah, with the diagnosis of ADHD, bipolar, with being being a recovering addict, I then sort of made this vow to be like, okay, how can I use what I've been through not to set me back, and not be like, okay, I'm going to use this to be like, I've got bipolar, I've got ADHD, and it excuses everything I've done, but actually take accountability of what I've done to other people, but also use it as well to help others that might be going through the same, but they don't know what it is yet. So yeah, I sort of made a vow to try and make sure that no one else went through 27 years of feeling deeply alone and misunderstood and like they didn't belong here. And that started with advocacy through social media and through poetry. I started writing poetry, and that started to resonate. But I then sort of got to this point, where I was like, I just don't know how much talking I can do anymore to see the change that I'm after. I need to do something, and I need to do something big. And so Stride Beyond Silence was born. Yeah, that's sort of how I got here. And sorry, I've just rambled on for far too long, but
No,
that's sort of the
that's
story.
incredible. Wow. Do you mind explaining a bit more what Stride Beyond Silence is, like in general, and why it's called Stride Beyond Silence?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, even though we've done so much amazing work within mental health in the last decade, a decade of talking doesn't really undo a history of silence. You know, there's still so much within the mental health space that is still taboo, that is still not spoken about, that is still sort of hushed under the carpet. And I'm really proud of how far we've come, because when I was at school, I definitely had never heard of bipolar, ADHD. When I had an eating disorder, I was told never to speak about it with anybody. It was like completely secret. So it's, good that we can start speaking about these things. But the word suicide, especially, um, is still not said enough. It's still not spoken about enough. And there's definitely a misconception of what that word means, that it's sort of a bad word. Um, and the only way to prevent suicide is to talk about suicide. It's and it's just not spoken about enough, and it's killing so many people. It's the biggest killer of men under 50 in the UK. It's the biggest killer of young people under 35 in the UK. 1 in 5 of us will have thoughts about suicide. 200,000 people attempt it in the UK a year. So it's like we can't afford to not speak about it. Um, and so, yeah, I wanted to use this walk to speak about suicide, to honour the lives of those we've lost to suicide. So I've got a flag that I'm carrying, and it's got the names of people that we've lost to suicide on it. And I've still got more names to add, but at the moment there's 125, and I've still got another 100 and something to add. And probably more now, because every time I put out a new video out of me adding the names on, because I basically want to make sure when I put a name on the flag, I say it out loud. Like, I don't want it just to be a name. It's a person. It was someone deeply loved but taken too soon. So it's a way of just honoring those people. And what's been really beautiful about that process is that a lot of people have kind of messaged me and said, thank you so much for putting my brother's name on. He died 30 years ago, and I've never been able to speak about his death, And suddenly that's opened up conversation with a stranger. Tell me a bit more about him. And, these things that no one, like people that haven't been able to speak about and now being spoken about. And it's been really, really beautiful. Um, and yeah, so yeah, it's strive beyond silence to make a lot of noise, like loads of noise. Basically, I want to make it as noisy as possible. And yeah, as well as honoring, it's hopefully to save lives, to make lots of money for charity. I'm doing it for two charities: Calm, which is campaign against living miserably, and ADHD, which is a charity my friend set up who has autism and ADHD, and they're looking at preventing suicides within the demographic of autism and ADHD people. And yeah, I kind of want to use my own story again as not a poor me, oh, she went through this, as a way of actually, I'm the lucky one here. My story isn't special. It's not different. Loads of people have been in my position and had stories just the same and not made it. I'm lucky that I have made it. So I want to show people that no matter how dark life gets, no matter where you go to, there is hope, like recovery is possible, and there is a beautiful life waiting for you, like one beyond your wildest dreams on the other side. So please keep going, and it does get good again. So that's sort of the reason and the why behind Strive Beyond Silence and what it's about.
So this amazing challenge you're doing, obviously it's a world record attempt, and you're looking to do it solo and unsupported. What made you want to do that?
To be honest, I wanted to do it solo because I wanted the walk itself to almost be like a physical depiction of what it's like to live with mental health problems. Like you think you're alone through all these things, you put one step in front of the other, but actually there's so many people supporting me that might not be physically with me. And that's kind of what I felt like through loads of mental health problems, that I'm doing this alone, but actually I'm really not doing this alone. I've got people that are cheering me from the sidelines, and also it's a way of just showing people that you are capable of doing these things no matter what you've got, no matter what you struggle with. um, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, the unsupported thing was because I was just so skint, and I was like, a support team is so
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah.
I was like, I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get a support crew. It's gonna look really like great to have that like camaraderie, and it'll be really fun. And then I was like, okay, that's like quite a lot of money. I don't think I can afford that. So went for the unsupported route. But to be honest, like it's not, it would have actually been really hard to have a support team anyway. Um, because especially in Norway and Sweden, it's so remote. It wouldn't have been a support team. It would have been people doing it with me, like 100% doing it like fully with me. Um, so so yeah, but I've still got people helping as much as they can help along the way. Um, and yeah, solo, but I know that I will never feel alone. I know that there's like so many people that are going to be there supporting me. Um, yeah, so that's sort of why I chose to do that.
Jeez. So you're doing this whole thing solo. You're hoping to do it in a year. So
Yeah.
surely you're having to pack every different type of clothing, from the deep, like when you're in the Arctic Circle compared to like Southern Europe and in Greece. It's very different climate. How are you packing all that in your bag?
So to be honest, the way that I planned it seasonally is hoping to not actually have a real extreme that you might think about. So right now in Norway, in Nordkapp, where I start, it's 24 hours of daylight. There's no sunset at the moment. Um, the ice has melted, so it's not freezing, and because there's no evening at nighttime, you don't get that real crash in temperature at night. And it means that when I'm actually going into Italy and Greece as well, the way that I planned it, if all goes well, I'll be there before it gets absolutely burning, baking hot. Um, so the kind of the what I'm wearing is not too bad. Like I don't have to bring loads and loads and loads of equipment. As in loads and loads and loads of what, like clothing wise. And one of my sponsors is Montaigne. So their stuff is great. So actually they basically came up with one outfit where I've got such tiny amounts of clothing. I think I've got like literally altogether 10 pieces of clothing, but that covers anything from shorts and t-shirt to when I need to be wrapped up with base layer and then probably fleece and then waterproof. It's like such limited amounts of clothing. I mean, it's kind of like this is one of the gross bits that I'm probably going to get probably so smelly. But I won't have anyone with me, so it won't matter. But no, I'll obviously go and like wash in lakes and stuff. But yeah, but it's been quite difficult compromise wise with what I'm carrying. So everything's been a compromise. Do I really need this? I did a training. My last like really intense bit of training was going to do the West Highland Way in Scotland, and I brought the gear that I thought I was going to be taking with me, and I just so much of it basically was like, no, I just can't afford to take this because it was 23 kilograms that bag that I took to Scotland. My bag is now down to 16 kilograms without food and water. So once it's full of food and water, it will probably get to about 18 kilograms, which is a big improvement to where it was.
So I was initially thinking, a year on the feet, walking across Europe, you'd have some kind of trolley that you'd be carrying or like towing with you or something like that, and you've managed to get it down to basically nothing. So some parts you're going through, I would imagine, would be quite remote. Are you sending things to certain places ahead of time, then grabbing them, or have you planned out that, okay, I need an X amount of food to get to this shop, this Tesco Express? Tesco Express? No, whatever. You know what I'm saying? This shop down the road.
Yeah.
Or how are you doing it? Like stocking?
Yeah, so when I mapped out the route, so the route, a lot of it follows this huge through hike, which is the E1. So the E1 starts at Nordkapp, Norway, and goes actually all the way down to Sicily. But I've actually had to like chop things off because it's just like, why am I going all the way out this way to make it more direct? But it loosely follows that. So I mapped out the route, and then I mapped out every single DPG service point, every post office, and basically any kind of pickup point that I could get anything delivered to. And then also on the map is every single cabin, campsite, resupply point. So I know exactly, okay, I'm leaving here. I'm going to be gone from civilization for 3 days. The biggest point where I'm going to be completely away from shops, people, any type of civilization will be 10 days. And that will be 10 days completely remote, nothing but me and my backpack. So that's going to be the biggest thing that I'm going to have to prepare for. But yeah, so I'll be taking on food and then resupply, and then I have like 2 emergency sachets right at the bottom of my backpack. If something goes wrong, if I twist an ankle, break an ankle, I'm away from civilization, I have to wait 15 hours for someone to come rescue me, I know that I've got something to keep me going. So yeah, it's been quite a lot of planning, and yeah, it's just kind of hoping that it all goes smoothly in that regard. And then yeah, be getting things sent out to me as well. So that could be anything from like an extra set, a spare pair of like shoes, clothes, some more food. One of my sponsors is well, no, we're partnered up. This is an amazing actually brand called Real Meal. I don't know if you've heard of them, but basically they do the bars and they're like 600 calories in like a tiny bar, which is just a lifesaver. So you're not having to carry loads of food to keep up your calories. So yeah, it's kind of just been a lot of logistics and planning basically. So it's been about 2 years of logistics and planning to kind of make this come together.
Wow, you mentioned real meal. What other like food are you using to keep you like nutritionally going? Surely you're going to be eating
Yeah.
like, quite a lot to keep yourself going for that long a time.
Yeah, so it's a really hard one to find. Like trying not to bring too much with you, but also the biggest thing that could take me out, right, is if I don't fuel myself properly, because that can lead to massive complications. So fire pot is amazing. So at the moment I've got loads of fire pot, but I mean, they've got an amazing network of basically camping shops all the way through Norway, and also a lot. So I actually picked up today a key. There's like a tiny key that's kind of one fits all throughout of Norway, where you can basically let yourself into cabins, and they have, so there's a whole network of I mean, some of them are just stunning cabins, completely not in use. Could be alone, maybe you'll be there with maybe one other person, where you can set up yourself a fire. There might be running water and electricity in some, but also some of them have honesty boxes. So they'll have like tins of food or like sachets of food, where you go, okay, I'm going to take a couple of that, and you leave them like a couple hundred krona, which is, I don't know, like 14 quid or whatever. And then you go on your way. So it's also being able to use that as well. But yeah, and there's actually really good dehydrated meals these days that are actually still nutritionally good, actually, like not just cardboard. And then yeah, when I go through towns, it will be making the most of like picking up fresh fruit and like restocking and stuff like that. But it's definitely something that I feel like I've planned as much as I can. I think the rest is going to be, let's see what happens and what that looks like. And then once I get into mainland Europe, I think all of that becomes a lot easier. There'll be more opportunity to stop, more opportunity to resupply, and more people that are going to be willing to kind of give me a bed for the night. So it'll be a little bit less remote and having to plan all of that too much.
So on this walk across Europe, like, first of all, how many pairs of shoes are you going to be getting through, and how far do you intend on walking? Like, what's your daily mileage?
Yeah, so I think shoes wise, I'm going to get through a lot. I actually did a guess between like two bars, like, how much do you think? And most people said about 10, and I think they're right. So it's probably about 10 pairs I mean, I've got with me boots and trainers, and I think I'll do boots probably only for Nordic, and then I'll probably want to go into trainers, but it's going to be a lot. Um, and what I planned for is doing 18 miles a day, but to be honest with you, your physiology changes so unbelievably quickly that it will start out at 18-mile days, but I wouldn't be surprised within like 2 months that goes up to 20, 25. And then by the time I get into Germany, where things get a bit flatter, a bit nicer, it could even be going up into the kind of late 20s. So that's sort of how I've planned it. And I've given myself within this year, if I was doing walking every day and had like one rest day a week, which I don't think I'm always going to take. But then I'll also have like 30 days to play with. So that's going to be if I get sick, if I have injury, or weather, or if I need to plan some logistics, like I'm on medication for ADHD and bipolar, something could go wrong with that, and I need to give myself time to stop. How can I get that resupplied? So yeah, there's some leniency. So I could complete it in under a year, or maybe it could be over, but hopefully it will be within it.
I think you'll complete it under easily.
Yeah, I reckon you've got that. The training you must be doing to be walking, as you said, hopefully more than 18 miles a day. What kind of training are you doing at the moment?
Yeah, so it's been lovely. I've been someone that's always like really enjoyed running, so I've always been a runner. So I've normally done like actually like marathons and stuff like that. Has been normally something that I prefer doing. And then going to the gym. But I've never been someone that was like always like really strong. I was always quite like a more scrawny and just like runner. So I've had to like really change that basically and get stronger. Mainly because of my bag. So it was keeping up with the cardio, going to the gym and actually doing proper weight training. Lots of stretching, Pilates, yoga to keep that all like just your limbs all like mobility wise good. And then it was, yeah, just getting out going out walking, increasing the mileage, and then increasing the weight on my back. So I think I started with like 8 kilograms, carrying 8 kilograms, and then slowly worked my way up to 20, and then just constantly trying to make myself stronger. So like just bulking out a bit, because it's within a month, 2 months, you just get, I can't physically put in what I'm putting out. So you're going to get skinny quite quickly. So trying to just like make sure that at least I'm starting at a good, like, strong point. So yeah, it's been a lot of training just to get stronger, fitter, and to be able to carry the weight that I'm carrying. And yeah, going out and walking, and going and doing multi-day hikes where you're just doing back-to-back day walking has been a big help.
So obviously, in terms of preparation, you've got everything figured out and everything's done now and you're ready to go. You've got a year ahead of you of relentless walking, relentless work. How are you going to recover and stay fit and stay strong and stay prepared and good to go along the way?
Yeah, I think sticking to a pretty good, like, I've got a daily routine to keep myself hopefully in the game and keep myself strong. So waking up every day, doing prayer, doing meditation to get my mindset in, to then having a minute silence with the flag, which then brings me into my why. So this is all about just like keeping my head strong, right? Keeping my head in why I'm doing this and things like that. But physically, it's going to be stretching. It's listening to my body. I'm someone that likes to push myself. And so actually listening to my body and being like, do you need a rest day? Do we need to take a few days out? Probably, yeah. When I go through a bit more major cities, it'll be having regular sports massages. And just, yeah, it'll be stretching, keeping my limbs in tune with my with how I'm actually feeling, and not just trying to ignore things, being like, oh, it will pass, it will pass, it will pass. And actually just being really honest with that. And then I'm really lucky that one of my sponsors is a guy called Sandy Lodder, who has a company called Peak Dynamics. He's ex-military. He's trained loads of adventurers and expeditionists, and he's taken me on. And he is someone that is really good at sort of helping me problem solve when it comes to things like that. But yeah, I mean, I've got no doubt that I'm going to injure myself. I've got no doubt that my body's going to feel, it's going to get to a point where it just feels really bad. And it's just knowing in your mind when it's okay to push that and when it's not okay to push that. But yeah, I think just keeping strong, keeping stretched, and keeping fueled up, and yeah, taking other people's advice as well as just listening to my own head, which should probably be just like, you got to do it, keep on going. Because yeah, I don't want to injure myself so badly that I can't finish. That would just be awful. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. We wouldn't want that to happen. Those days that you're sore, you're tired, you don't want to get out of bed, what's going to push you to keep walking?
So I've had those people help. So when I first came up with this idea and then I announced it to the internet, I guess, um, I then went through months and months of cold emails to try and get sponsorships, right? And nothing was happening. And then I was like, how am I going to fund this? How is it all going to come together? And then I got loads of people suggesting on my TikTok, oh, I think you should start a GoFundMe. And I thought, well, okay, let's just try that. So I started a GoFundMe to kind of help make this challenge possible. But I thought, how am I actually going to thank people, or like what's good, what's not? And I came up with the idea of putting names on my tent. So my tent is literally covered in people's names. Like, it's so great. I love it. Which means that every morning I get to wake up and I see all the people I'm doing this for and with, and I can be like, oh yeah, that's Sharon from like Scagness, or that's like Peter from I don't know, Utah. And it's really cool. It's people all over the world that have donated to the cause to help make it possible, you know. And that's going to be an amazing source, I think, of motivation for me. And if I start thinking about myself, like, oh, I'm doing this for me and I'm doing this for to just myself, the wheels fall off. But as soon as I realize who I'm doing this for and that it's so much bigger than me, like I feel like I'm doing okay. Like I feel like I can keep going. And you know, as I said, this whole track is a physical depiction of what it looks like to live with mental health. Like when you're struggling with your mental health, you do have days you're like, what's the point? Why should I get out of bed? I can't do this. But you can if you just take it like one step, one at a time. Like I'll see something beautiful that day. It could be like a really beautiful fern, or I might see like a cool bird, or maybe I'll like come across some other hikers and we'll have a chat and I'll be like, oh, okay, if I didn't get out and I didn't take that first step and then the next step, I wouldn't have seen that beautiful thing. And I wouldn't have been reminded that, oh, I'm really glad I kept going today. So I just need to take it a day at a time. And if I can't take it a day at a time, take it a step at a time. Um, and I think with that mentality, I'll get to the end for sure.
It's insane.
So, Kit, your poetry, I recall you saying that was one of the main things that you did to help you. Obviously, you're going to have a lot going through your mind and a lot to focus on with this challenge. You know, you said you've got your routine each day and it's going to be up to a year on your feet. What are your plans with the poetry? Are you going to keep that going along the way, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep it going along the way. Like poetry is has been a lifeline now for the last like 3 years. I mean, I was just generally just not academic at all at school. So I don't really know why I now write poetry. I mean, I know why, but I was never something that was on my radar. But yeah, I was not even 30 days clean and sober, and I was at my parents' house and I was detoxing and I felt horrendous and I felt so scared. Because I had to start facing reality and like live presently and face myself, and more scary than that, I had to face emotions which I'd numbed out for a decade through drugs and drinking. And for some reason, I reached for a pen and a piece of paper and I started writing poetry. And it became this sort of abstract way to express my feelings, which I found really hard to articulate at the beginning. Like I didn't know what it was like to feel anger, and I didn't know what that looked like, and I didn't know everything felt hard, but poetry kind of just made it better. And yeah, now I've got my book. I've got my first book of poetry coming out on the 25th of July. And yeah, like poetry has now gone from this lifeline, which it still is, like, but this sort of expression of hurt to now just this expression of like understanding the world and mainly nature. A lot of it's related to nature. And so I'm gonna use that as a tool as well, like throughout, and just like keep on writing. And like I've got the tiniest notepad ever, that because I prefer to write stuff. Tiniest notepad ever is like a luxury item. And I'm definitely going to continue writing, and I'm definitely going to continue sharing the poetry as well online. As I love it. I find it really therapeutic, and I'm sure a lot of poems will come to me whilst I'm out walking and alone. So that will be quite interesting to see.
Perhaps maybe you could do one poem a day, you know, and that's your thing you could think about on the go. And then that's your little anecdote
Yeah,
for the day. That's your little bit of content. And that'd be really good to see, you know, to document
yeah,
your thoughts and the emotions you're feeling day by day.
It would also be
yeah,
amazing if after, let's say, the year, let's say you did do that, if you published a second book, that would be amazing because people could see your raw emotion throughout the whole journey, which would be incredible.
yeah. That would be really cool. I'd absolutely like. I'm definitely planning another book for this, as it would be just great, just really. And I think definitely poetry, as well as like a sort of an autobiographical account of what's happened. So it'd be really cool to like share poetry, especially if I could do one every day. There'll be daily updates anyway, on TikTok and Instagram, and then there's a documentary series starting on YouTube. But yeah, the poems would be awesome to do that. Yeah, I love poetry. I never thought I'd be someone that does love poetry, but now I just can't get enough of it.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. So, Kit, we ask our guests 3 questions. So, our first question is, who inspired you?
Who inspired me? To be honest, every single recovering addict out there. That's like, I never thought I could get clean. I was shown through the power of other addicts in recovery that I could, and that will always be something inspirational to me.
Our second question is, if your younger self could see you now, what would they say?
My younger self they would definitely say that they're extremely proud of me, and they would be like, they'd be really grateful that they got out of the victim cycle and decided to change their pain into purpose.
And the final question we have for you is, what's your message to anyone who's listening at home?
My message to anybody that's listening would be that no matter where life takes you, no matter the trials that you're put through, no matter how dark it gets, that you're stronger than you think, and that I promise you that there is a version of you out there that is waiting for you to see how far you've come, because you will do amazing things. And I'm not saying that you have to walk the length of Europe like an insane woman, but you might just get out of bed one day and just be truly grateful that you're alive, which is incredible. So please keep holding on for those days, because they are out there and you will live them.
It's incredible.
That is, yeah. That was an incredible, like, we really appreciated that. That was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us your time. And obviously, you've got only a few days now until you start, and it's going to be an incredible journey for you. And we look forward to following it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, it's really amazing to hear about what you guys are doing. And I think that, yeah, this podcast sounds amazing, and I really hope that it continues to grow and develop. And yeah, I think more people just would be great. I'm definitely going to go and listen to the episode. Have you put the episodes out that you've already done?
Yeah, all the episodes are out on YouTube and Spotify.
I'm going to go listen. I'm going to listen to them whilst I walk, because they sound fantastic.
And there's a new one out every week.
But
Yeah, every Friday we try release from.